There was just something in her writing that I just related to. She writes about like her sensitivities and her vulnerabilities and the weak points in her life. It would give me a lot of hope just to read about somebody that I admired, that, you know, I respected her work, and to know that she had weaknesses, you know.
Hey guys, welcome back. Really missed doing these reading vlogs and just reading in general. I started the Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I just wanted to share my morning with you guys. So I came back to one of my favorite coffee shops. This is one that I actually discovered a couple months ago, and they have oat draft lattes, which are my absolute favorite. So I got the brown sugar oat draft latte. I just set my phone up on the dashboard just to show you guys how the drink looks. So good. I love this cup. It's so convenient. You can put this lid on if you want to get everything shaken up. I got a new mic. And the reason I got this is because the fluffy mic that I would attach to my camera was just like not convenient. It wasn't like really portable. And I was already looking into a good quality mic. I've been wanting this mic for a couple months, and I'm glad I finally got it. I'm gonna have to see and edit this video to see how the audio quality turns out, but from what I've seen, the audio quality is top notch. So really excited about that, because I know most of my videos consist of long format talking videos. So I just feel like this was something that was kind of necessary. Anyway, it is currently 5:30 p.m. So I have my book here. I am currently on page 343, a little more than half of this book left. I do think it's going to start going a lot faster. It's because I'm really interested in the plot now. The plot is thickening. Theo, the main character, he is starting to, I think, change locations again, because there was a death in his family, and change comes with a lot of risk and a lot of unknown. So I'm really excited to see like where this unknown leads him and how he ends up going to Amsterdam. I was just like going over the last page that I read. Boris, his friend, is already going through Theo's stepmother's belongings because he knows that she's like out of it. She's not really aware of anything. So he goes through her stuff, and just like seeing that kind of like makes me wonder, I'm like, if he can so easily go through someone's belongings, someone that he doesn't even know that well, I wonder if he has already gone through Theo's things or has even like gotten his hands on Theo's painting. And it makes me question Boris as a person in general, if he's even loyal to Theo. We're gonna have to see. But currently Theo is kind of processing everything. We'll see where he goes to next. I'm going to turn the timer on, see how much I can read in an hour, because that's something I've been wanting to do for the previous videos. I just was never able to successfully sit down for that long and like actually time how much I read. Warning, I am a very slow reader. Honestly, not expecting that many pages to be read in an hour, but hopefully this is a little more interesting. This part of the book where I'm currently at, I'm hoping I can get a higher number than expected. We have the timer started for an hour. Okay guys, I'm back and I read for an hour. I did take a dinner lunch break. Turns out I read exactly 45 pages in an hour. I think it's better than it was a year or so ago. Starting out with 45 pages, I want to aim for like 60 pages. So I'm currently on page 383. So far, Theo has traveled a whole bunch. So he came back to the state where his previous life was. So I guess in a way this is kind of positive, but also a very sad feeling that comes with it. There's just this very melancholic feeling that is associated with these pages. Theo is so mentally drained. I think he's like 100% on survival mode, and especially when he meets this old friend of his and he reunites with him, he's just sobbing uncontrollably. It's at this point where he doesn't even care how he's perceived, because I know before this he was very good at putting on this tough exterior, but now you can tell he's very broken. Like he was telling his friend, please don't make me go, and this is something he would have never had said before. The reality of him being an orphan. That's basically what has happened so far. He's at his old friend's house. Something tells me that he's going to stay here for a bit. This friend of his is like the closest person he has to a parent. Aside from this heavy sadness, you can feel it through the pages. I just feel like it might just go up from here, and I feel like the pages are going by so slow. The plot is very slow. Nothing's really picking up yet. I'll update you guys in the morning. Good morning. It is Friday. I made myself a delicious cup of coffee. This is my third time recording this video. The first time I recorded, it was not connected to the wire. The second time, it was muted. So this is my third time recording and everything seems fine. I'm just feeling very drained right now. I've been speaking for over an hour, only to realize that none of it was being recorded. So third time's a charm, hopefully. I feel like I don't have anything else to say because I just talked so much about everything. Officially reached 410 pages. So that leaves us with 350 50 pages left. As you can tell, I've labeled, but like not as much as I thought I would be tabbing. I think a lot of this has to do with Theo's evolution as a character, and also where I'm currently at. Theo is pretty depressed. I had to sit in my comfy sofa right here. It's just the fact that this painting that he illegally took and that he stole from this museum, like this painting is taking up majority of the book, and I feel like this book is low-key turning into a crime novel in a way, slash mystery, and now the authorities are cracking down on missing paintings after the explosion that happened in the museum. For some reason, Theo still brings this painting with him all the way from Nevada, where he could have just left it in Nevada and left what he stole in that state, and I doubt he would have gotten caught by the police, but he brought it back with him to New York City and is hiding it under his pillowcase, and it has me wondering what symbolisms are associated with this painting for Theo. And I know like a part of this painting is connected to his mom, but also I'm wondering if it holds anything else. I know there's no monetary gain for him because he's not looking to sell it. And also on page 410 is when we start seeing proof of Theo's depression, this melancholy, and this is highlighted at the end of page 410, where Theo says, "But though I knew just how lucky I was, still it was impossible to feel happy or even grateful for my good fortune. It was as if I'd suffered a chemical change of the spirit, as if the acid balance of my psyche had shifted and leached the life out of me in aspects impossible to repair or reverse. I could do what I had to. I'd done it before. Gone blank, pushed forward." I can understand why he's come to this point. Aside from that, I feel like the painting that Theo is still holding on to, it keeps bringing me back to the beginning of this book, where Theo finds himself in Amsterdam in a hotel, not knowing the language, and kind of gives the feeling of him being in hiding. So I feel like that is the only foreshadowing I have at the moment. I'm hoping the rest of this book goes by faster, because honestly, it's been like a very slow read. It is a couple days later. Let's talk about where I'm at with the Goldfinch. I literally stopped at the most suspenseful part, which is why I wanted to stop reading and talk about everything, because the deception, the gaslighting is insane. I was kind of doubting Theo's friend Boris's trustworthiness and obviously his loyalty and his honesty. I was like foreshadowing that Boris would have something to do with the painting. It becomes something even more shocking. I feel so bad for Theo. He's been stressing out over this painting, thinking that he'd get caught, that the authorities are after him because like he's been harboring this painting this whole time. In reality, Boris has been making bank over this painting. Boris actually went through Theo's belongings and he stole something, and he also is very good at gaslighting Theo. And we can see this when Boris breaks the news to Theo about him like stealing the painting, and then Theo finally comprehending what he was just told. He's just like questioning Boris why he would do such a thing. Boris tells Theo, "You're not in the right mindset right now." So he's kind of telling Theo that he is like memory loss, and then he starts comparing Theo to his dad and saying that you become a lot like my dad when you're on drugs. He's starting to like mess with Theo's mind. That is pretty rough, comparing Theo to his dad, knowing Theo's history with his dad. So I thought we were done with Boris as a character because he didn't come along with Theo when Theo moved to New York after finishing high school, but here we see Boris again, and Boris is not revealing what he does for work, but you can tell it's very sketchy, and he lives in a very sketchy part of town. 300-page mark, I believe, is when Theo said that he feels like his brain has been chemically altered in some way that led to a personality change of some sort based on the drugs he took, because he's been taking all sorts of drugs. So we're definitely seeing this personality change. For once, when everything seems so balanced and promising for his future, that's when he reached his lowest point, I believe. I can see how living a life filled with so many obstacles, childhood traumas, uncertainties, and then finally getting out of that and kind of like seeing a promising future, being engaged, having all these opportunities, this social circle that he's a part of now. I feel like he's kind of feeling an imposter syndrome. And so this uncertainty and this depression is what brought Theo to this part of town where he met Boris. It's crazy how this was all coincidental, how he met Boris, and I guess like this is what was meant to be. But at the same time, I'm like, what is Boris doing in New York? Like, he clearly came to New York, I feel like, for Theo, because he actually grew up in Russia and then he moved to Nevada, and New York was Theo's hometown. And now we see Boris in New York, literally 30 minutes or an hour-ish away from Theo. I feel like we still have a bit to uncover based on Boris's reasonings for moving to New York. Those are just some of my thoughts and my predictions, but I feel like Boris has kind of changed for the worse, especially in terms of his friendship with Theo. So I'm currently at this point where Theo is in shock that Boris took the painting, and this painting has been Theo's whole life. The way Boris stole the painting and replaced it with something else is actually insane, because Theo never looked inside the pillowcase where he assumed his painting was. So Theo has been saving a painting and like stressing about a painting that was not even the painting itself. It was just a replacement. Boris just shoved it in the pillowcase and took the actual painting and made money off that for years. So painful knowing that his childhood friend betrayed him in like the biggest way. There's so much going on, and it's not just Theo anymore. Now it's Boris. Now it's that side of Theo's world coming in, and all these realizations that have to be made. And also we still have the Amsterdam scene that came at the beginning of this book, where we see Theo in the future being in Amsterdam for some reason. He was in hiding of some sort. So we still have the Amsterdam story to be explained, and then we also have Boris and all of his secrets to be shown in the plot. That is just a little recap. I am going to read as much as I can right now. Also, I got this new quilt from Amazon. Actually, it is so cute. I just feel like it adds a touch of spring, which I love. Saturday, 3 p.m. currently, and I just got my day started. I left the house, made myself some coffee. As you can tell, I have had most of it. I just like to put a lot of ice in my coffee because I like to sip on my coffee throughout the day. This is a brown sugar cookie caramel latte with oat milk. For all my sweet iced coffee lovers, this is the best combination. I just use the Chobani cookie dough and caramel macchiato creamer, and then add in 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, and it creates the most delicious iced coffee drink ever, the most elite combination. I am in my car because I'm going on a bit of a road trip. Anything more than like 20 minutes of a drive is considered kind of a road trip in my town. I was not about to vlog, but something really exciting came up today, and I got a message last night that my pottery items are ready to be picked up. My friends and I, we did a pottery painting about a week ago. They have to go in the kiln. They have to go through that whole process to be completely ready. So I'm going to go and pick those up for us. I hope they let me pick up my friends' items as well. I am going to put my inspo pic right here. As you can see, this is a Coraline inspired mug, and this is the reason I've been wanting to go pottery painting. I just couldn't find a similar mug or even like the exact mug anywhere. Honestly, looking at the photo, you can tell it's handmade. So I was like, why not and try to attempt it myself at this painting studio. This is what it looks like before the finished product. Apparently the colors changed drastically. The blue is supposed to be much darker. Also, I have been listening to the Goldfinch on audio mostly recently because I've been doing so many random tasks throughout the day and haven't really had much time to sit down. I'm on chapter 11. Let me see how many chapters there are in total. There are 12 chapters, so we are almost done. I'm guessing we're on like the last like 150 pages. Some thoughts so far. Something came up that I really want to talk about that has been an occurring pattern in this book so far, and it's something that's been kind of affecting how I view the author now, Donna Tartt. There has been a lot of passive comments on certain cultures and on certain races that don't sit well with me. For example, the characters are going into a town that's a little more sketchy and run down. They start to mention a certain culture. It's always affiliated with certain terminologies from a certain culture. Anyway, I did my research on this, and I've seen other readers kind of notice this as well. No one wants to see a culture misrepresented through stereotypes like that. And I came across it again in chapter 11, and I just realized like I have to talk about this because it's not talked about in a positive way at all, and it's like a recurring pattern. And I feel like this is definitely trying to perpetuate a certain stereotype, and it'll be at the most random times too, at the most random places or location. So I just wanted to point it out. Honestly, this has greatly affected my view on this book and even on Donna Tartt. which is unfortunate. I feel like I had to mention that because it's been like continuous. It's been happening since the first chapter, and I would be interested to know your guys' thoughts about it if you have read this book. I think it's nice to have a discussion. But yeah, so I'm planning on still obviously finishing this book. I'm going to listen to the audiobook on my way to the pottery studio. So we got all 3 items. I'm so excited to open mine. I'm pretty sure this is mine. Okay, that's the inside, and this is the outside. I really like the way the blue came out. If you can see the speckles, it's kind of how the inspo pick speckles were. The yellow is kind of giving green. I have high expectations for things like this, but I can definitely see myself using this. Maybe for a little bit of iced coffee. I think I definitely want to go back and make more mugs. I've literally taken a whole week break because I went to California, more specifically Northern California, which was the first time I've really spent time in Northern California. The last time I went to California, which was like a couple years back, I went to Southern California, which in my opinion, I feel like I enjoyed the Southern California vibe a bit more. We did make it a bit to Southern Cal. We went down to Santa Barbara. That was like the most south we could go. We spent most of the time in San Francisco and we went down to Half Moon Bay. Obviously, we had to stop by Santa Barbara, which I fell in love with. The weather there, the people there, the outdoor malls, insane. Like, I am obsessed with the concept of having outdoor shopping, but I just fell in love with the whole vibe of like the little town and the small vintage stores. And then obviously we had such good food. You can never run out of places to eat in California, in my opinion, because you can find so many different foods from different cultures. In Santa Barbara, we went to this Lebanese sandwich shop, which was amazing. And we tried their falafel, and then we also had their chicken shawarma wraps. But you could tell the owner there was so passionate about his restaurant and like the space he created. First of all, it looked so beautiful inside. And second of all, he would personally bring the orders to each person. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time in California. As always, like my favorite state I've visited yet, and I kind of feel at home there in a weird way. So I know I mentioned to you guys earlier that I was basically done with the Goldfinch, and you can tell how much I have left. Literally like 50 pages. I'm so ready to be done with this book because it's really starting to feel dragged out. A lot of intrusive thoughts coming from Theo, feeling like he'll be caught by the police any second, which is why he doesn't leave the hotel. He's like locked inside the hotel, and Boris, his friend, is just missing. So he's basically alone with no passport in an Amsterdam hotel. And at this point, his only choice, like in his mind, is to write letters to all his loved ones. It's starting to become very sinister, very depressing. I feel like that's the only word that's coming to my mind. Hopefully this ends on a good note. So we will be finishing this book today. I also made myself a coffee that is very much watered down, but this is an iced caramel brown sugar oat milk latte. I also went to Five Below yesterday. I love going into Five Below, especially with my blind box obsession recently. Started out with the Calico Critters, and I recently found this blind box. I think this was the only box left because I didn't find the section for this anywhere else. It was just on this random shelf. It is the Illimer blind box. I just feel like they're so cute, and I would prefer the plain shirt, but either one of these. Okay, I'm not going to look. We're just going to see it together. These are my colors. She's going on my table. Let me know if any of you guys have seen them around. Let me know what you think about them or what you think about blind boxes in general. Okay, I am going to finish these last 30 pages and I will give you my final thoughts. All right, I just finished this entire book. All 771 pages of The Goldfinch to wrap up the ending of The Goldfinch. I did annotate a few pages from the end that I kind of wanted to talk about, so everything gets resolved. It turns out Boris is not that bad of a friend that I expected. I low-key thought Boris was going to do Theo very wrong, but he actually ended up apologizing and even tearing up for what he did before. I feel like the plot basically ends there in Amsterdam. We see Theo go through a cycle of really sad thoughts, and then him coming out of that, seeing his mom in his dream, which I feel like is his awakening. Him seeing his mom in his dream was definitely life-saving for him. In many ways, I do believe that dreams hold a lot of meaning and they can be real and have some truth to them. So he's back in New York and he has this huge wad of money that allows him to travel for the next year and explore the world and try to find the meaning of life. The last 20 pages of this book is so philosophical philosophically based. At one point, I didn't even know what I was reading. I was like rereading the sentences and I'm like, what am I reading right now? I tried really hard to like get where he was trying to go and like what essentially Donna Tartt was trying to convey to the reader. I feel like you had to decode what he's trying to say here in the last like 20-ish pages. Most of them is like, what is the meaning of life, and what he thinks the meaning of life is, the purpose of the goldfinch, and why the painter, I think his name is Fabricius, why would he choose to paint that bird in a cage, and if that bird possibly represents the painter himself, and why would he show himself in that way. Something really interesting was Theo, he read somewhere that the owners or the sitters of pets kind of resemble themselves, and I've actually heard this theory before, and I feel like a lot of the times there is actually like some accuracy to that in a weird way. So he kind of implied this theory to Fabricius and how Fabricius does kind of resemble the goldfinch, and maybe the painter did portray himself through the goldfinch. I also feel like Theo believed that he couldn't escape because he's seen his dad and he believes that there is a part of him that's just like his dad and he can't escape it, and it doesn't help that he also looks a lot like his dad. But that's something that really got to him, and he also mentioned in the end too that sometimes you can't escape your fate. He did write, a great sorrow and one that I am only beginning to understand. We don't get to choose our own hearts. We can't make ourselves want what's good for us or what's good for other people. We don't get to choose the people we are. I think he has this belief. In some ways he's doomed because I guess in his case who he was surrounded by, in what circumstances he was born into. At the end you can sense that he's come to like some kind of peace and he's taken time to explore the world, and now he's searching for that meaning of life. The last paragraph is a letter to the non-existent reader. It's basically advice for the reader. It feels like it's more a letter or advice for his future self instead of just for the reader, because if you look previously, he's written letters to the 4 main important people in his life, and he did write those letters, but right after writing those letters he actually felt better, and I think it was more for himself. So I think the little letter at the end of this book, you can feel like it's kind of like closure for himself. I would definitely say it's not on the level of The Secret History. It's a very slow paced book. I would say I like the beginning of this book, like probably not the very beginning but a little like later. I would probably rate this book out of 5 stars. This would definitely be a 2.5 star read for me. I feel like we could have definitely shortened this book. Oh, obviously the stereotypes in this book, not a fan of, and then also the way the book ended, not a fan. But yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.